Check, 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 clap. Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Ninja, just playing my favorite video game, Fortnite, and you know, I'm just so sick with the headshot kills that you know I'm starting to get a little bored with it. So you know what? I make music now. My name is Rob, and I made a MIDI controller, and this is what it looks like. And I just wanted to do a little informal demo and just kind of talk about what it does. So I'm gonna just try to make like a little loop using the features of this MIDI controller, and it's probably going to be really bad, but it's fine. This MIDI controller uses an 8-way Sanwa joystick. It's a real Japanese arcade joystick, and it uses it for various MIDI purposes, specifically to kind of help generate ideas. I'm going to kind of go through a few of the modes while I kind of walk through making something really dumb in Reason. The first most basic mode, as you can hear, the 8 directions are just mapped to a MIDI scale. So this is basic, you know, you can just play notes, how you do. What I've programmed in here is 22 set scales. So you can change scales. There's this button on the top. You can hold down the button, and if you tap up or down, it starts cycling through the scales. So I just went from the major scale, and now I have a natural minor scale, and then I get harmonic minor, and melodic minor, and then after that, I think it's Dorian, and you get a bunch of church scales, and there's pentatonic scales, and there's a blues scale, and there's octatonic scales, pentatonic, septatonic, the 6-note scales. I have a bunch of those in there, and chromatic and whole tone. So there's a lot of scales kind of pre-programmed in that you can just kind of cycle through. This is kind of a way to help you break out of kind of maybe the keys and scales that you normally would write in, because you might kind of just cycle through, end up at a random scale. This noise is kind of... That's fine. So you can kind of like cycle through some random scales and kind of see what inspires you. Yeah, and then the other cool thing about this is that you can also use it for chopping samples. Yeah, so we picked a drum loop. It's kind of a breakbeat style drum loop. If you had a normal keyboard, you could assign different slices of the loop to different notes, but here instead we have slices assigned that are corresponding to notes that our MIDI controller is pumping out. So let's see if I can just kind of come up with some kind of... So it's kind of neat because you can kind of have all the slices at your will. I find it a lot easier to kind of improvise. It kind of removes the musical brain a little bit because you're not looking at a keyboard. You're just kind of feeling it out. All right, so now that I have that loop, I'm going to kind of double it with Drum Machine. Can just change the scale to chromatic, and now I have the first 8 pads queued up right here, and if I want to move it up, I can just hold that button, tap right, and you can see it moves the root note up. So this is kind of how you transpose while using the MIDIchamp. Alright, so that's just a quick double using Kong and what I'm calling a tracked mode, which is the middle mode on this switch. But there's 2 other modes, which we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so I want to improvise some sort of hat pattern over that. And the other 2 modes of this controller are going to help us with that. So I'm going to switch it over to Multiplier mode. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to send the MIDI clock from Reason to this. So now in this mode, the MIDIchamp is synced with the DAW. So the really cool thing about this is each direction when you're in multiplier mode is a different drum pattern. It's a different subdivision. So if I go down, you can hear we're getting half notes. Diagonal forward is triplets. Right is quarter notes. Upright is 6/8 pattern. Up is eighth notes. Up left is twelfths. So it's like a double 6/8. Left is 16th notes, and down left is 32nd notes. This actually means that you can really go pretty deep improvising a drum pattern that's locked to the grid in your DAW, and you can kind of perform it. Now, I'm not a drummer. I could never really get the hang of like tapping my finger on crappy MIDI keyboard keys or like those little trigger pads, because I'm not a drummer, because I don't kind of naturally have those kind of patterns in my fingers necessarily. This kind of makes it where you can kind of improvise something and maybe not always know what you're trying to make it sound like. It's surprisingly easy to just kind of feel it out this way. So I'm gonna put in a hat. So right now my root note in this mode, and by the way, there's a universal root note when you're in attract mode, which is the melodic mode. Down is your root, and the scale is always built off of whatever note is assigned to down. And then down is also your trigger note when you're in the other two modes. So I'm going to transpose this up by holding the button on top and just tapping to the right. I think I'm going to use this this hat sound. So yeah, let me play around with this. All right, that's cool. I'm going to record that. Cool, yeah. So look how easy that was. Yeah, so the important thing to remember about this is that it's reading the MIDI clock input, and it's sending out these triggers from the hardware. Like, this is nothing in the software. Like, you know, there's, you know, in Ableton you could set up beat repeat. You could do that kind of stuff, but this is actually hardware side. It is subdividing the beat and sending out little tiny triggers. So I'm going to show you the other mode now, which is called Combo Maker. So in Combo Maker mode, it's a lot like Multiplier mode, where each direction represents a subdivision of the beat. So let's take, for example, if you hold to the right, you're playing quarter notes in Multiplier mode. If you go to Combo Maker, you hold right, you're playing offbeat quarter notes. So all the directions on here, they correspond to the offbeats of each pattern. If you were to build a beat using this mode, no two directions are going to give you the same triggers, the same subdivisions. So down is giving me whole notes, just one and three in musical terms, and right is giving me 2 and 4. And you can hear this if I put on the click. So that's giving me 1 and 3, and then I'll hold right, and it's giving me 2 and 4. You know, that extends to the 8th notes, the 16th notes. It's pretty much giving you syncopation, every possible syncopation, really. But yeah, I mean, but also this mode is great for layering, because if you start with this mode, then you know you're always gonna kind of get something different, you know? So let's try to just add some kind of spicy element. Okay, yeah, so this is just a tom. I threw some reverb on it. I kind of want to make the tail a bit longer. But yeah, just something to throw on top. So let's see. All right, let's record that. All right, cool. I mean, that's a pattern. All right, so now that we kind of have a drum beat, let's make a bass line. So like I said before, I kind of added in these 22 preset scales to kind of jog your creativity a little bit, because I know like I get stuck in patterns if I have a keyboard or a guitar. Like, you know, there's patterns that I just naturally want to play, but this kind of helps you break out of that. So let's find a scale that we like. I'm just gonna reset. There's a command for resetting you back to major scale. All right, so I'm gonna look for some scales. Okay, so I kind of like this one. I have no idea what it is. I didn't keep track. But now that I'm here, I can use it for both my bass line and melody. I can just not change the scale. I can just flip octaves and stuff, and it's all going to be in the same key, so who cares? I can figure it out later if I really care by looking at the notes. That wasn't too bad. The only thing I want to change is the first or second. Yeah, so like kind of look at the scale that we're working in. Like there's semitones where I wouldn't expect. I probably wouldn't write with this kind of contour normally. So success, really. Kind of gives me something that I might not normally write. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna loop that, and now let's just add something over the top, and then we'll be done. So for the end here, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm in a higher register now, but I'm in the same scale that I wrote the bass line in, so I'm just gonna jam over the top of it. Yeah, so it wasn't great, but there was some cool stuff in there. If I was recording it, I would have some cool ideas to work with. And the best part is that I didn't have to remember anything about, like, if I had this on a keyboard, I would have to like remember the scale I'm in, which I'm not that familiar with this particular scale, whatever it is. But instead, like, all the notes are just here, and I can just feel it out by the way it sounds, and it kind of removes that kind of thinking element from it. So anyway, this is it. This is the MIDIchamp DrumStik 3D. And this is the prototype. I am going to put up pre-orders to help me fund a run of these. This is the case it's going to be in. This is temporary artwork. It's still a work in progress. And obviously it's black and white. It's going to have full color printing on it. I think it's going to kind of have an orange motif. So this will be orange. That'll still be orange. Parts of the logo in the front will be shades of orange. And yeah, it should look really slick, and I think it's a pretty unique controller. I've never seen anything like this out there, so I think people would be into it. So if you're into it, I'm going to put, wherever you're watching this video, I'm just going to put a link to where you can pre-order it. I'm going to leave pre-orders up for a week. And after that, I'm going to close them. I'm going to order all the stuff. There's about a 3-week lead time for these cases with printing on them. And the joysticks and stuff are going to take a little while to come in because they're Japanese. And the arcade button on top is also a Sanwa Japanese arcade button. So kind of getting everything together is going to take a little bit. Assembling, drilling, all that kind of stuff. It'll probably take about a month and a half, all said and done, I'm hoping, if nothing gets delayed. But yeah, then after that, I'll probably have I'll have a number on whatever site I put them on that are just ready to go, and you can order them. But if you want to buy one, pre-order it. It's going to be like $60 off or something for the pre-order, I think. And then it'll be what I'm going to make the normal price. It'll be after that when they're all in. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking it out. I'm really kind of excited about this. It's the first thing I've ever done like this. And it's kind of amazing to like make something like this and be like, huh, like I think I made a really useful thing. So hopefully you think so too. And yeah, thanks for watching.